Hello everyone, it's John Roberts with ServiceNow. Just wanted to do a quick video demonstrate how you can integrate Eclipse Mylyn with ServiceNow tasks. Eclipse is an integrated development environment that a lot of developers use. Mylyn is a plugin that sits on top of Eclipse to allow you to do task management within the development environment. The power of this integration is to be able to leverage the tasks already defined in ServiceNow and bring those into the Mylyn workspace. For this example, let's take developer Scott Scriptman. His company uses ServiceNow. He's also part of a development team that uses Scrum methodology, so they're using the Scrum application. Here's a list of his current tasks assigned to him for the current sprint. So what we're going to do is bring those tasks into Mylyn so he can manage his queue right from Eclipse. So assuming we've met all of our dependencies, we have Eclipse installed, we have Mylyn installed. One more thing we need to do is add the Mylyn task web connector. The Mylyn connectors allow you to integrate with various task-based systems. Since ServiceNow is all web-based, all we need is the web connector. So the first thing we need to do from Eclipse is add a task repository. From the task repository view, we're going to select the web template that's from the web connector that we've already installed. So let's review the information we just keyed in. We have a server. This is the instance URL for your ServiceNow instance. We'll give this repository a label. In this case, we're going to reference stories. It's the table we want to connect to. Under additional settings, we have parameters for table and query. These aren't required, but they do allow us to save some typing later on if we had multiple queries. Our task URL is going to leverage the server URL as well as our table parameter. And we're going to reference the task number. We'll see how this works when we actually view a task from Eclipse. We can also, through Mylyn, create new records. Here's a URL for creating a new problem. The next, the query fields. This is how we're going to request information from the ServiceNow instance to be able to parse that into something that Mylyn can understand and store as Mylyn tasks. First one is our request URL. Again, we're using the parameters from our server URL and our table definition, and we're going to pass in a query string, which we'll define later as part of our Mylyn query. We also want to add the XML parameter in the URL. The XML is going to give us an XML payload back that we can then parse out quite easily into Mylyn. The next field is a query pattern. This is how we're going to parse out the information we want from that XML record. And then we also need to provide credentials. So in this case, we're going to log into the instance as Scott. So now we have our first repository, so we can create a query. So we've input our table and query information. Again, we're going to query against the RM story table to get our Scrum stories. And then the query we're providing, looking for active records, where our sprint state is the current sprint, and the assigned to username is Scott. Under the advanced configuration, we inherit the properties from our task repository. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to use those parameters. So we can now go ahead and preview, which will test this XML request. And we can see we have some stories down below. So let's finish this. So now we can actually view the tasks in Mylyn task list. So here we see our query for stories, and we can expand out and see the stories that we've input. By default, Mylyn will query this on a scheduled basis, and next thing we can do is actually view these records right in Eclipse. And this is just a web browser view, so I can actually go ahead and manage all of the information here. I can complete this task. And since our query in Mylyn was looking for active tasks, the next time this synchronizes or we force synchronization, we'll see that we're now down to our 3 stories. So that's just a quick review of how to set up the integration between ServiceNow and Mylyn. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.